Greetings, everybody. I am the Starving Martian, and today we're going to be looking at Mars Attacks number 3 from Topps Comics miniseries. We've already looked at the first 2 issues. We've also taken a brief look at the Wizard Ace edition, and we've gone over all of the backup stories found throughout this miniseries. If you missed any of those, click on my name and find the playlist for the Mars Attacks the Comics. But today we're looking at issue number 3. We have here a nicely illustrated cover that tells us to forget the killer bees. The giant mosquitoes are coming. See that? See how it says that right there? That is a lie. That is a bold-faced lie. That is 2 lies in 1. Because not only are there no giant mosquitoes in this issue, but there are killer bees. So, yeah. It's Martian misinformation is what it is. Don't believe them. Also, the human death toll soars higher as Mars attacks. So, let's see how high this death toll can soar. First of all, we get a very nice Martian image there. Mars wants you dead. And you get a brief synopsis of the plot thus far. So, we begin in the Arctic Circle, where underneath the waves we find some nuclear-powered submarines. This is Earth's last, best, greatest hope. The one thing that the Martians couldn't anticipate, because Mars doesn't have that much water, and so just the idea of submarines never occurred to them. Martians got rid of most of the Earth's nuclear capabilities back in issue 1, but these nuclear subs, they've still got their missiles. And so we're introduced to the crew of this one particular sub, and you see the daily operations, and the fact that they feel like the time is pressing in on them. They have important decisions to make, and we're not really told exactly what their plan is, but we do know that they don't have much time because eventually they realize the Martians are going to be able to figure out where they're at. They're going to find the docks, which in fact they already did in the last issue, and figure out how to combat the submarines, how to locate them. And we find that the Martians indeed are trying to do just that. Over here we find our good friend Komo Dath and his not as good friend Payek Commander Telian PR debating what to do and who's to blame. With the Payek here, the one with the giant eyeball, saying more or less, well, this is just one of those things, we couldn't have predicted this. And Komo Dath pretty much saying, your job is to predict this sort of thing, you idiot, you fool. It's the best map they're able to come up with for a general proximity of their enemy. And so Komo Dath is not having a good time of it. His well-planned invasion of Earth, which was supposed to be over already, is still continuing. Humans have submarines and weapons. Their giant insects are still out of their control. And, yeah, he's just not having a good day of it. Of course, nobody on Earth is having a good day of it. Here's some of them killer bees I told you that were actually in the issue. Hanging around Manhattan. Building their nests. And in a more rural part of New York, we find our friend Roger Bridges. If you remember, he got injured back in issue number 1. He's nursing a bloody, possibly gangrenous arm, trying to escape from the Martian forces. So he does a little bit of self-medicating here with some rubbing alcohol, because he's got to stop the infection. which is making him feverish. And yeah, that doesn't look like it felt very good. So as he's sitting there recovering from his alcohol bath, ring comes at the door, and in walks a Martian, a well-armed Martian. So he knows he's got to get out of there, but he's got to do it real sneaky quiet-like. But he's heard. The Martian chases him, shooting all the way. He dashes out the door. More Martians coming in from the other side. Unfortunately, our first Martian gets a little bit of friendly fire there. And that looks like it hurts. So hey, we finally took down a Martian. And I love the looks on these guys' faces. And I'll give this to the artist. They got some really good expressions and emotions out of what could just be a jagged tooth skull face. I think it's hard to really make something like that emote, and yet they do it very, very well. Back in Georgetown, D.C., we're catching up with young Woody Brown, who's on the run looking for his mother, and not doing very well at it. Because as he's hiding behind a big rock, a Martian ship flies overhead. And we're not shown exactly what it drops, but it makes us a really neat fire tornado. This is something I don't remember seeing before. And it's pretty cool. I kind of wish the Martians would use it again. It's an unusual weapon. And so he's gripping for his life, trying not to get sucked up into the flames. And that's it. We don't know what happens to him from there, at least not in this issue, but we'll catch up with him later. Back to the Amazon basin, where our other good friend, Thomas, is walking around squishing bugs. Last time we saw him, he was trying to catch a nap in a cave, not realizing there were eggs about to hatch. Apparently he didn't like that place because he's out of there. And he's squishing bugs with rocks. And he's muttering to himself, "Not gonna get me, sneaky sons of." And he's stepping in bug goo. So he's just covered with nasty stuff. And he's slowly coming unhinged. And who can blame him? You're stuck in your underwear in the Amazon forest getting attacked by giant insects. I don't think this guy ever sees a Martian. As far as he knows, there's just bugs grew for no particular reason and they're trying to eat him. And I don't know which is worse, honestly, knowing that the planet's come under attack by aliens, or just being hunted by giant insects and never knowing why. But he finds himself in an abandoned vehicle. She's a little bit hesitant about. Apparently his mom always told him if it looks too good to be true, it usually is. Which is usually excellent advice, but sometimes you just have to make do with what you got. So he hops in. The keys are there. Everything seems to be doing good. Except the seat is mysteriously wet with this red fluid. Probably not transmission fluid. He decides not to think about it. And he takes off. And there's those killer bees that the cover told you not to worry about. Martian misinformation. Do not trust them. And back to Massachusetts. Boston, Massachusetts to be exact. Where our friends Nurse McKay and Winston are exploring the hospital that they're in. Trying to find which parts of it are safe, which parts are not. There's been bug problems in the hospital. As Winston recalls here, the place used to be called Cockroach Center, and that can't be good. Alright, we are swiftly coming across one of the goriest images in the whole of the comic, possibly in the whole of Mars Attacks as a franchise. So if you just had lunch or are eating something, you might want to put it down. As they're exploring, they make their way to the cafeteria, figure they'll sneak in, see if they can find anything worth eating. Unfortunately, the giant bugs have already found something worth eating. Yeah, that's unpleasant. Although I am somewhat impressed that he managed to keep his hat on. So Winston gets McKay out of there before she can make a mess on him. He gets himself out before he can make a mess as well. And she actually references Mars attacks here. She says maybe they're Martians, like those horrible cards Winston keeps in his desk. And we've already established that Mars attacks exists in this universe. That back in the 60s, a man was abducted by Martians and told his experiences to the trading card company, and that's where the Mars attacks trading cards come from. So it's interesting that Winston here actually owns a set of Mars attacks cards and keeps them in his desk. Winston's gone up a notch in my estimation. You're a good man, Winston. Good man. But unfortunately, the Martians are invading the hospital. They've been doing sweeps, making sure that they haven't missed any humans. And McKay and Winston are next on their list. As is the Arctic Circle. They've been able to pinpoint that there are, in fact, some submarines here, but they don't know how to deal with them. They can't crack the sonar. The ships, the submarines, are speaking to each other in a language they can't understand. We'll find out, I think, next issue what that is. And so they're just bombing the waves, hoping to hit something. And you see Komo Dath here is holding his head, is telling his subordinates to get out of here. Go away. Can't take no more of this. Actually, what he says is, enough! Leave me now. I tire of this endless litany of incompetence. Which is a great line. And for some reason he's dressed like Aquaman. I don't know why. But that's definitely Aquaman colors he's got on. So he's musing about how the operation was supposed to be simple, about how mankind isn't even worthy of ownership of the planet, seeing that they've stunk it all up with their poisons and their pollutants. Even the simple children's lesson is beyond their ability to grasp. And then he says, listen to me, anthropomorphizing, I can't pronounce that, them, when they are little more than an infestation of vermin. And it's important to remember that's how the Martians see us. We're not sentient creatures to them. We're just a problem to be dealt with. And he says here, cursed Payak, debating and delaying till after the Terrans had harnessed the atom, till after we'd reached the point of no return. So yeah, the Nards here had wanted to invade us long ago, but they were held up in debate by the PX, who were initially a lot more peace-loving, but we saw what happened with that in the very first backup issue. And so that's how this issue ends, with Komo Dath in a bit of a depressed mood, drowning his sorrows. But he's not going to wallow for long before he'll be back and taking over what's left of our planet. So that was issue 3 of 5. So the story's moving ahead. Characters are getting places, and we'll see a lot more happening next time in issue number 4, and hopefully you'll be with me then. So keep watching the skies, but don't watch for giant mosquitoes, because they're not coming.